Casey Barnes. It was fantastic to see you live. It's great to have live music back, and a real fun night out seeing that Casey Barnes show in Melbourne last week. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate. And it was great to have your good self there and some other lovely folks that it's been funny, I guess, over the last 10 years. We've sort of known one another virtually and maybe met in the flesh for a couple of interviews. But it was great to have you guys along for, I guess, one of our first shows in Victoria in a long time. And such a great venue too, the Prince Band Room. We've never played there before, and it's a ripping venue, and the sound was great, and we had an absolute ball. So it was a lot of fun.
Now, I know you're sort of, the front man for this band, but, might I say, if you'll excuse me, Casey Barnes, the real star of the show was your drummer. Who is your drummer? What's his name?
He's getting far too famous for my liking, mate. It's so funny. His name is Wazza, and we've been together now since the very beginning. We're best mates. He's like my brother, really, and he's becoming too famous. Like, I'll come out at the end of a set at the end of the show and do merch. Like, you'll come out to the merch thing and you'll do some signings and get some photos. And too many people are always asking, well, where's Wazza? Because we want to get a photo with Wazza too. And it's going to his head. He's getting a very big head. But no, in all seriousness, he's a good man. He's very good at what he does. But he's not only a drummer, as you would have seen. He's good with his banter and filling spots in the show and cracking a few jokes. And he adds something a little different. There's not many bands that probably do what we do. So it's nice to have that point of difference.
I think you owe me a beer, Casey, because when Wazza was doing that, got to go buy some merch to Another One Bites the Dust, I think I spat my beer out. It was so funny. So you owe me a beer, right?
It's just, I love the line. It's just another little, no, what did he say? It's just another jab in your butt. He was saying that there was going to be a Casey Barnes COVID vaccine coming out. And anyway, you have to come to a show to see it, but he just makes this stuff up on the spot. And where it all started, not getting too far off the track, was purely by accident, with him coming on the mic and saving me in the middle of a show. And it was back in 2005, and it was my first big break in music, and we got to open for Bryan Adams for A Day on the Green. I was shitting my pants because I'd never done a show that big before, and we were halfway through the set. Everything was going great, and then my little DI, where you plug your acoustic guitar into, just went flat and it died. And so there was it felt like an eternity, but there was a couple of minutes where the tech guys had to come out, change over the DI and get the signal going again. And Wazza saved the day. He just jumped on the mic and just started making up a story on the spot. And he said something like, ladies and gentlemen, just while they're fixing these few little issues up at the moment, just wanted to let you know, at the end of the set, Casey's going to be selling some merch. So we'd love to see you. He's got all sorts of stuff. And this year he's recently brought out a new, it's a new black and white coffee table book, but this one's a little bit different because it's a pop-up book. So it's all nude photos of Casey, and it's a pop-up book. So he made that up on the spot, and everyone's pissing themselves laughing. And then at the end of the set, Michael Newton, who runs A Day on the Green, came over and he said, mate, you better get over there because everyone over there wants to see you. And I think we that's the most merch we'd sold ever in a day. So it was, sadly, we didn't have any of the coffee table books, but we'll have to get onto that because it was pretty funny.
The other song that stood out to me, and I will talk about your new music in a minute, but the other song that stood out to me was Footloose.
We've had it in the show now for a couple of years, and we like to throw a couple of covers in just as something a little bit different. And Footloose has always been a ripper of a song, and we love to play it live. And it's, we like to build the show so it sort of gets to a peak towards the end, and we usually bring Footloose out as either the second or third last song, and then you'll get everybody up and then finish with one last song, and it always goes then. Well, probably the biggest challenge we had was towards the end of last year when we started to do a few of the COVID restricted gigs, and we'd be playing Footloose, and everybody be sitting at their tables doing dancing, but they weren't allowed to stand up. So that was a challenge, but it's a ripper of a song.
Now, there is new
Yeah.
music in Come Turn Me On. There was the album Town of a Million Dreams 12 months ago. So you're already on to the next phase of new music.
Yeah, and if Chuggy had his way, I'd bloody have the new album out next week. He's not letting me slow down anytime soon. But no, we thought yeah, it's been about 12 months since the album has come out, and over the summer break and stuff, I did a lot more writing and some co-writing with some guys over in Nashville. Who co-wrote a couple of tracks on the previous album. One of the new ones was this new one, "Come Turn Me On," and we thought it was a great song as the first single. So been busting to put it out, and it seems to be going pretty well so far. So it's good to have some new music out. Yeah.
So was the new album, or what will be the new album, was it all written during COVID?
Most of it was, yeah. Believe it or not, I guess that's one of the blessings out of not being able to do a lot of touring last year, is you had that extra time on your hands to concentrate on writing new stuff, and actually already recorded probably over 80% of what will be the next album. So we're secretly sitting on all of these songs at the moment, and now deciding, what will be the next single and planning out the next 12 months. And I guess it's not a bad place to be in. That's one thing that's been a big positive. So yeah, we're not too far away, but I don't want to rush the next album either, because it still feels as though we're coming off the back of the last one. So be interesting to see what the next few months bring, and if we can get back to doing more touring and more live shows, that's going to be a huge bonus too.
Because Town of a Million Dreams came out in April 2020, so COVID had already started. We're already getting into lockdowns. I would imagine you would have been off the road by the time that album arrived. So have you not had the opportunity to really get out and perform songs from that album live?
Yeah. It was a bit of it was a really, I mean, I guess every musician anywhere around the world would have a story of some sort of how COVID has affected them. But ours was more along the lines of, we'd been planning for a long time leading up to the album coming out, and we had a tour all locked in, and we were literally ready to kick it off. And I think our first few dates were going to be down in Victoria. We had Geelong and some shows in Melbourne, and a few other places all locked in. And then we had to pull everything at the last minute, and sort of we were left with that decision of, do we still release the album, or do we hold it off for 12 months? And how long are we going to be sitting in no man's land for? And a lot of artists made the call of holding back, and we had a lot of chats about it with Chuggy and Andrew Stone and some other people that we sort of trusted their opinions, and we went the other way. We were like, well, people are still going to be listening to music. We've worked so hard to get the momentum going that we had. If we stop, that's going to make it so much harder to start again when we come out the back. So let's put it out, and let's push really hard, and see how we go. And we were really fortunate that fans got behind it, but radio was fantastic as well, and all forms of media were great. We got a lot of support, and it ended up being the best thing we could have done.
You've got a real champion in the team in Michael Chugg, who, apart from being one of the nicest guys in the music industry, is also one of the most powerful. How did the relationship between you and Chuggy happen?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's we've known each other for a long time, and I'm definitely one that believes in, because I've been doing this for so long, that timing is everything. And sometimes if an opportunity comes along prematurely, you can blow it because you're not necessarily ready for that opportunity. And there was a little bit of we had a little bit of chatter a few years ago, and there was a little bit of interest there, but then it sort of didn't end up happening. And but we stayed in touch. And then at the end of recording Town of a Million Dreams, the new album, I was in Melbourne with Michael Painter and Michael De Laurentiis, who I recorded most of the album with, and we were sitting in the studio, and the boys sort of said, this is by far your best album you've done to date. Have you thought about getting the right team around you to help put this out? And I didn't want to rush into any, getting in line with anyone. It had to be the right person. And the boy said, well, who would be on the top of your wish list? And I said, well, Michael Chugg would be my number one, because he's just so passionate about Australian music. He's a great manager, and he's heavily tied in with the country music scene as well with CMC Rocks, and so I sent him a few of the songs, and he liked what he heard, and flew down to Sydney, and the rest is history. So it was great to have someone like a Michael Chugg believe in what you're doing, and then I guess more recently, and sadly, it was Michael Gudinski that had also come on board, because Chuggy had been in his ear for the last 12 months going, mate, you need to get onto this. And then I was lucky enough to sign with Mushroom, and Michael Gudinski was, as we all know, just a unique and wonderful man. And he was texting me literally a week before he passed away about all the new songs, and he was really excited about the next album, and a few of the songs in particular he was keen to get behind. And yeah, just devastated that that obviously happened. But to have someone like him and Chuggy believe in what you're doing is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Because you went down that road of the reality TV show. What was the history of Casey Barnes prior to the TV show? How much experience was there, and how did the TV show kind of derail the career for a little while?
Yeah, look, it's one that, I mean, I got asked a few times prior to going on the show if I was interested in auditioning. The producers had approached and said, have you thought about it? And I turned it down a couple of times. I didn't feel it was the right thing to do. And I was telling the story prior about the whole Bryan Adams support that we did for Dale the Green, and that was before Idol, and we had a few things going off the back of that, and I was quite happy doing my own thing. And then enough people had sort of got in my ear to audition, so I just thought, why not? I'll just go and see what happens, and didn't have huge expectations, but was lucky enough to get through, and then eventually into the top 12. And there was, I guess a mixed bag of pros and cons. It was there were some things that were great. It got me out of my comfort zone a lot. Prior to that, I used to always really literally just perform with my acoustic guitar, because I felt very vulnerable without it. Whereas, as you probably would have seen on Thursday, I'm far more comfortable now without the guitar. I love playing the guitar, but I love putting it down and actually running around the stage and engaging with the audience. And, I feel that's far more comfortable these days. So that was one of the big positives. But then, with any reality TV show, it's very manipulated, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that that you have to be ready for before you jump into one of those sort of experiences. And I definitely learned a lot. Yeah, that's for sure.
You had a very defined direction prior to the show, though. So when the show came along, they have a habit of trying to remold the performer into something that is more their demographic. Did they fiddle very much with what you were doing with your sound?
Yeah, they did. They sort of at the time saw me fitting in more with that contemporary rock sort of vibe. I remember Rob Thomas was sort of making a comeback from Matchbox 20. I always loved Matchbox 20 growing up as a kid, and I think they saw me fitting in that sort of genre, and steer me a little bit more away from where I was. But I think anyone that goes on that show, I mean, and also it depends on what week you're performing, because I know they have different themed weeks as well. Like the one week might be rock week, and then it might be 80s week, and disco the next week. So, you have to be ready to sort of get thrown into just about anything. But I guess it was probably after Idol that I made a trip across to Nashville, and there was a chance meeting that happened while I was there. I'd always grown up being a huge fan of Rick Price as a kid, and Rick now lives in Nashville, and we randomly bumped into one another and just hit it off immediately. And yeah, he became hugely involved in my career and my songwriting for quite a few years after that, and steered me very much into that country genre, which I've never sort of looked back after that.
Okay, so good to talk to you. I've always wanted to talk to the backing singer of Wazza, so.
I'll tell him you said that. Actually, we've got to share this with Wazza. He'll love it. He will absolutely love it.
You're a star, Wazza. You're the star, Wazza.
We need to come up with some Wazza merch. I think that's the next thing because I reckon it'll sell pretty well.
I think you're onto something.
Oh dear,
Casey, good to talk to you, and hopefully, what's happening in Queensland at the moment won't interfere with you on the road for too much longer.
Thanks, Paul. Great to chat, mate.